Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream. I'm going to let these this guy and this girl continue on here in a second. I'm watching the left's heads explode right now. This guy's talking right now. I'll let you listen to him in a second. But this is funny watching these people always like to tap into the wackos on the left.
I don't think there is going to be.
They're talking about
whisper of a fight in the Democratic Party about getting behind her.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what's up with that audio.
Like nothing you have seen from this party.
Okay, I'm going to pull that audio down until they fix it because that's on NBC's side. I'll leave the video up for now. Let's see. That's not live. I think. Okay, news flash, headline, all that good stuff. Joe Biden is stepping down in his bid for re-election. There is a difference. He's not stepping down as president, which is crazy because he's too feeble and absent-minded to run for re-election, but he's just fine to continue to be president, right? So that tells me everything I need to know right there as far as his connection with Hunter. They were trying to figure out a way to where he could still not step down as a dementia patient that has completely lost his mind, even more so as the hour goes by. They were trying to figure out a way he would still be able to pardon Hunter. And I guess this is what their way to do it. Don't step down as president. Just don't try to get reelected so he can finish out his presidency until January 20th, whenever Donald Trump likely takes over. So this does give him a chance to take care of Hunter. It's not like this is mind-boggling, but I think the assumption was that he was going to step down as president because obviously he's too feeble-minded to do that. I mean, this man doesn't even know when he's topped off his diaper. So we certainly know that we can't trust him with anything else. And let's face it, he hasn't called the shots in a very long time, if he ever called any shots, right? Let's see if NBC fixed their audio yet.
Tussle for vice president.
All right, let's listen to some of this.
Vice president for under Kamala Harris. There's been a lot of talk about Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, comes from a red state, not a state that's likely going to be won by Democrats, but potentially somebody who can speak to working class voters in the Rust Belt, the Blue Wall states, somebody who could appeal to them. There's also been a lot of talk about Gretchen Whitmer, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about that because seeing two women on a ticket going after or going up against Donald Trump and J.D. Vance after all of the testosterone we saw.
I would love to see Greasy Gretchen get in there.
What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it's a really interesting prospect. I mean, I do think, I mean, Katie, let me turn the conversation back around to you just for a second. May I interview you for a second?
Sure, go ahead.
I just said that I think that the Democrats will now not have a fight over whether or not Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee. I really see this as like, it was becoming clear that was what was going to happen if President Biden dropped out. Now with his endorsement, it just seems to me like that's done. Do you agree
that that's done?
I do. And just by the conversations that I've been having on my text messages and the statements I've seen coming in, I had lots of conversations with lawmakers about what should come next. There was a lot of talk initially that it should be an open field. They should let Kamala Harris prove herself in an open field because an anointment would weaken her, whereas a challenge would strengthen her if she came out on top. That was the reporting that Nancy Pelosi was saying in private. But the second that this was announced, I started getting a flood.
Let's be honest.
Go Kamala. There was also
this is probably the worst news for Kamala. Kamala's ego, I call her Kamala. Her ego wants her to be president. But she's very much intimidated by this because, number one, she knows that Joe hasn't been calling the shots, so she won't be calling the shots. She also knows that she can't hold up. She's an idiot. She's proven that for the last 4 years. And she was only chosen as a token. Remember, she called Joe Biden a racist during the primaries when they were trying to run for president. She called him to his face on stage a racist. Joe only chose her because she is a brownish woman. I say brownish because she's not black. If you've ever seen her parents, neither one of them are black. One's Caribbean and one is Indian. She is not a black lady. However, she was chosen because she was an acceptable token at the time, just like Joe Biden chose his Supreme Court justice. she's not qualified. Not that Joe ever was, but Joe could at least fake his way through it whenever he had his mind about him. Not the last 4 years, of course, but he could fake it before that and talk tough and act like he knew something, even though he graduated 78th in a class of 84. Kamala can't do that. Kamala just comes off as stupid. So they're talking about the possible replacements, right? Or the possible runner. Gavin Newsom. I don't see that. I don't see that. They need somebody who can help them win a state that they're going to have trouble in. Trump's not going to win California. They could put Hunter Biden in there, and they're still going to win California. So they don't need Gavin Newsom to try to carry California, regardless of how enamored they are by him, his charisma, and all that good stuff. They're talking about Greasy Gretchen Whitmer from Michigan. Unified Democratic Party. The only reason why I see that happening is because they can say, hey, look, continuing on with their DEI crap. Look, we just nominated there. We got 2 women on our ticket. Look at us. This is the new America. But Greasy Gretchen has her own problems. If you remember, Greasy Gretchen had that supposed plot for kidnapping. In fact, Joe Biden referenced it last week. The plot that he said to kidnap a governor. He's talking about Greasy Gretchen. That's already come out that the FBI, this is an absolute fact. Just Google it. You'll see it. It came out that the FBI is the one who developed that plot and tried to actively go out and recruit and suck people into it. And they kept telling them, no, not interested. And then they arrest these guys because they're talking to them. That was a complete fabrication by the FBI. So Greasy Gretchen was never going to be, who really wants her riding in their vehicle, right? I call her Greasy Gretchen because her face looks like she just dipped it in a vat of grease. She's just got this big, fat, greasy head. So I could see them possibly with her, but she did such a horrible job during the China virus, shutting the entire state down and pissing everybody off, that I think that's all going to come back and give everybody kind of a PTSD about the whole COVID crap. So I think Greasy Gretchen is probably a bad choice. I think Shapiro in Pennsylvania might be a better choice, mainly because they need Pennsylvania. And with J.D. Vance coming out of Pennsylvania, this would be more adequate, I suppose. But having Kamala on the ticket, she's probably going to be running as the president, not the vice president. To me, that ends it. That ends any chance of them winning. I don't think it's possible for the Democrats to win with Kamala Harris on the ticket at all, but I think it's a slam dunk loss for them by putting her stupid, cackling ass up there. She is horrible. She might be able to put a complete sentence together, but it's just as incoherent as far as understanding what point she's trying to make as anything Joe Biden would say today. So anyway, I know her ego wants her to do that, but I don't think she's capable of doing that. Let's listen a little bit more to this guy and this girl talk.
Donald Trump, or the idea of Donald Trump that conservatives are pushing on policy. And one of those ideas is abortion. Donald Trump has said that he believes it should be left up to the states, but the apparatus behind him doesn't believe that. Project 2025 is saying
that use the
Comstock Act to ban the abortion pill from being shipped nationwide, ban the tools needed for the abortion procedures, ban them from being shipped nationwide across state lines, use the FDA to make the abortion pill even harder to get. J.D. Vance is somebody who said in the past that he believes in a federal abortion ban. I thought it was so interesting, Rachel, being at the RNC last week. Abortion didn't come up. They didn't talk about abortion at the RNC. Not once. Not once.
Because it's a state issue.
Exactly.
They didn't
what
talk
Kamala
about abortion
Harris
because
has been campaigning on day in and day out for about a year now.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance. Project 2025 is really something on women's rights generally and women's role in the country and in society.
That's not the Republican
and in politics.
Thing. That's the Heritage Foundation did that.
Just look at J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance signed on to a letter that says that prosecutors should be able to get women's medical records from out of state to pursue prosecutions for abortion. So if you live in a state where abortion is banned and you travel to California or New York or Illinois or someplace else to get an abortion in a state where it is legal, J.D. Vance wants prosecutors, law enforcement in your state to be able to get your medical records against your will from somewhere else you went in the country to pursue you across state lines.
He's lying about that. This guy's lying. He's totally lying. He's making that up. That's never been the case. J.D. Vance has never said that. This guy is a complete liar.
For a barroom argument, for an inarguendo discussion with your friends about how bad it could possibly be. They picked J.D. Vance because they thought they had this election in the bag. And then Joe Biden did this today, and now it is an absolutely different ballgame.
No, it's not. He's wrong.
J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are going to lose in November, and Donald Trump is going to regret picking J.D. Vance as his running mate now that he's up against Kamala Harris.
This
J.D.
guy
Vance
is
also
lying.
At one point said he was against
very hopeful,
no-fault divorces, saying it's too easy to get divorced. And that's what has enabled women historically now to free themselves of some pretty violent marriages or just.
I got to say this. These people keep talking about the Project 2025. That's not Trump. That's not Trump's platform. That's not the Republican platform. That is a conservative agency, organization. That's not even a PAC. It's just an organization that put up what they think would be the right way to change things in this country. And guess what? I would say, I'm only going to say 99% of it is good stuff because I haven't read the whole thing from page to page. I've read enough of it to know that everything I've read so far is acceptable as far as I'm concerned. But since I haven't read the whole thing, I'm going to hold out that 1% might be incorrect. This guy and this chick right here, they're freaking out and they're trying to do the Jedi mind trick that the Project 2025 is the Republican and the Trump platform. It's absolutely not. You can actually read the Republicans' platform that they just put out last week and see what it is. It ain't Project 2025. But these people right here are trying to mind F you into thinking that so that they can talk about it. And this guy on the bottom's lying about it continuously because most of what he just said is completely made up and incorrect. Even if you do agree with Project 2025, he did not even represent it properly by his description right there and saying what J.D. Vance said. So typical liars, typical media. This is why nobody trusts these people, right? This is why nobody trusts them.
At all, because they thought they were going to win this in a walk.
Well, they picked him because they said they wanted to sit him down in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, the three states that we're going to talk about ad nauseum going forward. They thought that he'd be able to speak to white working class voters, the people that he grew up with. Rewriting history a little bit about what he wrote in his book, Hillbilly Elegy, about those groups of voters and this idea that they were blaming everybody else when they really needed to look inward to see what they were doing to contribute to their own not so great position.
This is a guy who's given a series of jobs by a very far right eccentric billionaire who says he doesn't believe in democracy, right? J.D. Vance's entire career was jobs given to him by Peter Thiel, who then gave a larger donation that has ever been given to a single Senate candidate by a single donor ever to get J.D. Vance his seat in the United States Senate.
I'm going to lower this guy down a little bit.
Also put him in the
and what we're going to do real quick, for those of you who have not heard, let me mute him completely. His deep, disturbing voice is too much for me. So let me pull up the actual announcement from Joe Biden, right? So here it is. All right, let's go through this real quick, and I won't bore you with it. I'm just going to read it. It's a one-page document from Joe Biden as of today. Joseph R. Biden, which Joseph R. Biden is an asshole, by the way. I no love for him. I just can't stand the guy. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. That is a lie already. This guy, of course, his handlers wrote this. I mean, Joe, let's face it. Joe can't hum the tune, row, row, row your boat without effing that up. Over the past 3.5 years, we've made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. America's always had the strongest economy in the world, right? That's not something to brag about. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation and lowering. I can't even read that. I'm not going to read that first paragraph. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcome a once in a century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. Really? He's calling his own presidency an economic crisis. We protected and preserved our democracy. It's not a democracy. This is a constitutional republic. They're doing that for a reason. Don't let them fool you. And we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. We have not. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week. Okay, let me go back to this couple that's talking. Oh, God, look at this fool. Let me put them back real quick, like.
Is North Star always being?
Oh, Hillary Clinton endorses Harris after Biden exits. That's amazing to me.
President Harris, and we'll do whatever.
Okay, that surprises me, guys.
We've lived through many ups and downs, but nothing has made us more worried for our country.
Excuse me, as some of you have pointed out, Hillary Clinton has been waiting in the wings, licking her chops this whole time. She can't wait for Biden to drop dead. Well, I'm shocked at, if you look at the bottom, Bill and Hillary Clinton endorse Harris after Biden exits. I wonder if that's just because that's the respectful thing to do right now, because I do believe Hillary will throw her. I think she will act like, oh, I don't want this. And then at the Democrat National Convention, there will be a lot of push for her. And she'll go, oh, well, I really didn't want this. But if you really want me to, if y'all love me that much, I'll do it. So I think this is all a ploy by her. Hillary Clinton, I was going to say she would kill somebody to become president, but she's already done that. She would do anything to become president. So don't believe what you see at the bottom. I think that's, we're talking about politics, right? This is all politics.
That because I've gotten the sense as I've been traveling and I've been talking to voters around the country that the people who are worried about democracy, they're already going to vote for the Democrat. They're already gotten by the Democratic Party. They see it as a threat. They don't need to be told twice. But the people who are on the fence are the ones who were didn't think Joe Biden was right for the job. He was too old, or was too old white men. They
too feeble, not too old, too feeble.
Or two, felt like they didn't know what they were voting for in the future with the Democratic nominee. Or three, were worried about economic issues, pocketbook issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to that is yes. I think we will see Vice President Harris do both. I think that we will see her talk about the stakes of this election, right? Part of the way you run for president is by talking about what you...
Who has a lower favorability rating in this country than Joe Biden? Anyone? Who has a lower likability rating or favorability rating than Joe Biden? I'll give you guys one guess. I know y'all know who it is.
We'll hear all of that from her. But the other way you run
Kamala Harris. This is not an upgrade, right? This is definitely not an upgrade. This is like when you wreck your nice car and you have to drive the old beat up piece of crap to work. This is what this is. You are definitely going to be driving the old piece of crap to work for this next election.
Normal people spend money on all over the country is, it's an economic issue that she can use against him. But honestly, it's hard to put aside the fact that the last time this guy had the presidency, he tried to hold on to power by force.
That's not true.
Like you're not, there's no percentage in eliding.
This guy's lying. This guy has lied the whole time he's been on camera.
I think Vice President Harris is good on the issues in terms of her own,
Appreciate you,
what
Riley.
she's promising and what she wants to do for the country. But Donald Trump is not running as an incumbent, but he is running as a former president, and his record and what he's proposing now and his extreme new running mate, it's all just very, very, very fertile ground for a unified Democratic and newly energized campaign. I feel like from where I'm sitting right now, again, looking like a boiled ham, I'm sorry that I'm not wearing any makeup, but from where I'm sitting right now, I feel like I can hear checkbooks opening and the wrists swiveling as donors on the Democratic side. Everybody to the left of Attila the Hun is now turning to the reality of a new Democratic candidate and a new prospect for keeping Donald Trump from getting back into the White House.
Excellent point, DC.
And presumably not leaving for life if that's the way he's thinking about things.
He's running on a record, and you laid out the record. Donald Trump is running on a record that was capped off by his.
Remember, though, the Democrat Party does whatever it wants to do. The Democrat Party doesn't care what the people in the Democrat Party want. The Democrat Party does what it always wants to do. If you remember Joe Biden back in 2020,
that's true.
Joe Biden sucked in the primaries. I mean, sucked. Actually, he and Kamala both. Kamala, again, getting 0 primary votes, as somebody already stated. Joe getting a few. Bernie was going to beat Joe. Bernie was going to get the nominee, but the Democrat Party gave Bernie a bunch of money and a bunch of promises. He bowed out like a little bi, if you know what I'm about to say. Joe Biden was not the, quote, people's choice in the Democrat Party. Kamala damn sure ain't the people's choice in the Democrat Party. So don't think what's the logical thing to do. Think, what will the Democrat Party do? Because that's all they care about. They don't care about anybody out there. Donors, yeah. Donors have more sway than the average Democrat Party. The Democrats don't care about the actual people. They never have. The donors, yeah, they got money. That matters a little bit more. Let's see what we got here.
Monica, what do you have?
Well, Katie, I think it's just so notable in everything you've just been discussing there when we talk about the factors that went into this decision for President Biden. We have to remember he's isolated in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware with COVID, and that's where he has been these last couple of days, having some of these difficult discussions, I'm told. But ultimately, even last night with some of his closest aides, with members of his inner circle, he had told them privately, I understand, that he was full speed ahead, that he wanted to continue with this campaign. Even this morning, some key White House and Biden reelection effort surrogates were on the airwaves saying this isn't a discussion about President Biden making a future decision. They had said he had made his decision and it was to stay in the race. And some of those people didn't even find out about the president changing his mind until just moments before it went out formally on his own account on social media. That's how closely this was held. But Katie, I think it's really important to remind our viewers of who was around the president when this was happening these last couple of days. And that's his real close and immediate family. And in large part, that is because of his COVID diagnosis, but also because we knew, and we had reported, NBC News knew these conversations were happening a couple of days ago, that there was this awareness and acceptance of a more reality-based conversation that needed to take place about if the president were to leave the race, what it would look like. And the people closest to him, his family, we reported, were really talking about this in the context of wanting to make sure that if this happened, it would be befitting of a public servant who had been in elected office for more than 5 decades. And that was a really important part of this story. Once we knew that that was happening, there was an acknowledgement from within the people who know the president the best that this was a more than likely possibility. It wasn't talked about as any kind of a foregone conclusion, but the fact that those conversations were even happening, I think tells you a lot. And it tells you a lot about these last couple of days. And we know he has been with the First Lady, who, by the way, is supposed to be going to the Paris Olympics to be at the opening ceremony in the coming days, heading there. So that is something to think about when we're now talking about where President Biden will give a larger speech, laying out this thinking and giving this formal notice of this decision to the American people. And we believe that that will be a speech in the coming days, as he hinted at in his letter. But they want to make sure, again, that so much of this was going to be calculated, according to the people that I've talked to and just spoken with, on his own timeline. And there were many around him who were very close to him who still believed that there was more time to that timeline. Right. They felt like they had maybe.
Okay, so just to be clear, Joe Biden put this letter out about an hour ago. Let's be honest here. This is a Sunday. Joe Biden works about 4 hours a day, likely never has worked on Sunday his entire life. And he probably had either just rolled into bed for his nap or he's just getting out of bed for his nap. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden is not aware that he stepped down yet from the election. I'm pretty sure of that. He's going to wake up and he's going to be scrolling through the phone, or at least on his little, he's probably has one of those iPads with the big blue thing with cartoon characters on the outside. So if he drops it while he's in bed, he doesn't hurt himself like children have. So he'd be scrolling through his stuff and see that Biden stepped down, and he's going to ask Jill what happened. I do believe that, I know that Jill was the driving force behind not letting this old dementia patient step down. She did not want to. She wanted to go down in history like an Eleanor Roosevelt type character. She just has been her thing all along. Joe Biden could give two rips if he's still president or not. Joe Biden does not understand the color of the walls of a room that he's sitting in. He's not conscious of anything around him. So Joe Biden, if somebody would ask Joe Biden, do you want to step down from being president or do you want to not run for election? He'd be like, yeah, whatever. In fact, he'd probably look around. What am I supposed to do? What? Anybody want to answer that for me? So this is not Joe Biden's decision. Never has been, right? The guy doesn't make decisions anymore. This is Jill Biden. Jill Biden would not let them push her husband out. Jill Biden wanted to have a legacy for Joe and for herself, just like they just spoke. She's going to, even with all the turmoil, even with people calling for Joe to step down over the last month, this woman still was going to go to the Paris Olympics. Because why? Because it's the Paris Olympics. She's the, quote, first lady. She wants to go there and be big shot, right? That's a big deal to her. What she's been able to do and freeload off the American people for the last 4 years is a big deal to her. She's going to lose that. I guarantee you this. Guarantee you. Jill Biden was promised something. Maybe it's an ambassadorship at a really nice place somewhere in an exotic part of the world, a tropical island, exotic place, maybe like in Italy or something like that. Either she has been promised an ambassadorship somewhere that she made them agree to, or she's getting something else worth a lot of value. I don't know what it is, and I don't have any prediction on that. All I'm saying is it's either a cushy, nice, attractive ambassadorship that anybody in their right mind would want, or she's getting something else, because she did not agree to do this. She was willing to let that entire Democrat Party go down in flames and push Joe Biden's old dementia-ridden ass out on stage at the DNC and say, this is your able-bodied president, and then translate for him, or maybe just wheel him past the podium and say, well, that's the guy who's running, and wheel him right back off stage. Jill Biden was not convinced of this. Jill Biden convinced somebody else to do something for her to allow them to pull her husband down as the next candidate for president of the United States on a Democrat ticket. So I can assure you of that. This was not a joint decision by anybody that has the last name Biden. They were promised something. Now, as I stated earlier, one big thing to remember, the assumption all along was that Joe Biden would step down as president, and then we would have Kamala assume the president role to finish out, because they've already decided that Joe Biden is not cognitively, for some reason, he was the most fit person to be president 2 weeks ago. Now, all of a sudden, he's not cognitively there. Oh, now when we don't need him as president. They've been calling for him to step down as president, not as the presidential candidate. There is a difference. If he steps down as president, that's immediate, right? If he steps down as a presidential candidate, not going for re-election, then that means he still serves until January 20th of 2025, which means he can still pardon whomever he wants to, which means anybody with Biden as their last name, his brother, his wife, his son, anybody that he wants to pardon for all the theft and the criminal activity that they've committed over the last, let's say, 5 decades, right? Because they've been stealing from the American people and other people worldwide for decades. This allows him, even though he's not going to be aware of who he's pardoning because he's going to be worse off in January than what he is now. This still gives him the opportunity to do that under his name. Somebody else will write those pardons. He will scribble on the paper, or they'll hold his hand. Look, Mr. Biden, can you sign this, please? And they'll do this. So he will still be able to pardon all the Biden family. He says he's not going to, but that's window dressing. He's absolutely going to. Again, he doesn't know what he's saying. I mean, really. So it will be interesting. I'm curious how much amphetamine they will pump his body up with to address the American people. You know what I'm saying? I wonder if they're just going to like accept the fact that, all right, this is the last time he'll be seen on TV. Just let him go. Let him do whatever he wants. You know, there's a fine line between how much amphetamine you can pump him up with to where he can actually function, and then you pump him up too much where you kill him. So they got to watch that. It's probably not worth the time to do it this time. So I wonder if they're not just going to push him out on stage and let him slobber and mumble for 15, 20 minutes and then just guide him off stage or something like that. I mean, again, why bother? So this should be interesting. It should be comical. I don't feel sorry for Joe Biden. I absolutely don't. Nothing, not a fiber in my body feels sorry for him. Joe Biden has been an asshole his entire life. His whole life, he has been an asshole. I don't know how they convinced the American people that he was a nice guy 4 years ago, and that was the reason they were going to run him. Let's be clear. Joe Biden is an asshole, and he always has been an asshole. When he dies, I will not lose an hour, a wink, a moment of sleep, because this guy is an asshole. He has built the American people. He has screwed the American people over. He has lied to the American people. He is an evil piece of crap, and nobody should feel sorry for this ass right now. So good riddance to this jerk. Now we got Kamala. She's going to be the one that they push up. So let's see. This is going to be a very interesting thing going forward as to what they do. Super, super interesting how they address this next week. Because remember, the Democrat National Convention is in a few weeks, right? 2.5 weeks away, I believe. They have a lot to do between now and then because they have to name a candidate at least by then. Maybe they leave it open right now to kind of feel the pulse of the American people, not us, obviously, but to see who they could run and who they're going to be polling. If you're a Democrat watching this, you will probably get a phone call in the next couple of weeks because they're going to poll everybody across the entire country, mostly in battleground states, to see who they would want to win. And I think it'll be very, very interesting to see what happens going forward on that, because they've got a lot of decisions to make. They've already betrayed the American people as it stands because they lied to the American people for the last 3 years, saying that Biden was the greatest thing in the world and he was the most capable person to be president. And then now they're saying, yeah, he's a vegetable. Let's get somebody else. So we never trusted them, but now their own party is not really trusting them because they realize now that they've been lied to. So should be interesting, guys. Hey, just wanted to give you guys a quick update. For all those of you who have been watching my updates on the Trump assassination attempt, I have a really good video, very interesting, coming out this afternoon in a couple of hours. Hope you guys will watch that. Mind-blowing stuff, man. Mind-blowing stuff. We don't have answers into who tried to kill Donald Trump yet. We don't have those answers. We have a lot of this, but we don't have any answers. And as I've been stating in my videos the last couple of days, every time they answer a question, it opens up 5 to 10 more questions. Tomorrow, they're supposed to grill the Secret Service, Congress is. So we'll see how that turns out. That should be really interesting. But at the same time, you know, we're not going to get any real answers. But I revealed some information today, official information that has already come out, and I show you the proof of where it came from. That is going to blow your mind, guys. It really will blow your mind. In fact, I already have a video in the can for tomorrow that's pretty eye-opening too. I just don't want to overwhelm you with 2 videos in one day. But I hope you guys will check. That video will premiere in a couple of hours. So I hope you guys will watch it whenever it comes on. Like it, share it, whatever, because this one has already been demonetized. There's not anything inappropriate in the video. And when I uploaded it a couple of hours ago, YouTube already demonetized it. So that means it's going to be shoved way down in the recommended videos. And the only way to get people to see it now is going to be to share it, like it, comment, and all that kind of stuff, because the algorithm has been hammered right now as far as not being able to show this video. So it's not going to get many views on its own, but it's probably one of the most explosive videos that I've put out in the last week, because it does provide some really good insight and some actually pretty surprising stuff. I'm going to give you a little hint. It's already on the title. the Department of Homeland Security and Crooks, the Trump shooter, alleged Trump shooter, they belong to the same gun range in Pennsylvania. They trained at the same facility. And I have some other questions for you in that same video that will make you kind of scratch your head. And as I state in the video, probably pull your hair out. Guys, thanks for watching this live stream. I really appreciate that. Again, check my video premiere for the latest in my series of Trump assassination attempt videos. It's, again, going to blow your mind. And I will see you guys later. And give me your thoughts on this video. Once this video live stream shuts down, I'd love to have your thoughts. Go back to the video, not the live stream, obviously, because it won't be live anymore. But go back to the video comment section. Tell me who you think the Democrats will put up, and tell me why you think the Democrats will put them up, president and vice president. I'd love to know your thoughts on both of them. Tell me who you think they're going to put in there and why they're going to do it. See you guys. Thanks again.